Hello there. I'm Kios the Ronin Beatmaker. And welcome to Lounge Ronin. All things, everything. And before we get into it, if you are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And on this episode, we're going to discuss Zenobia, the warrior queen. And without further ado, let us get into it. Alrighty. This article was written January 1st, 2015. Zenobia, the warrior queen of Palmyra, Syria. In 30 BC, the last active Ptolemaic queen of Egypt, Cleopatra. I'm terrible with Roman numerals. Is dead. I gotta brush up on my Roman numerals. According to the written sources, she committed suicide by holding a poisonous snake to her breast, so as to avoid being paraded in Rome by the victorious Octavian, known as Augustus, after 27 BC, although this account is also disputed. The humiliation of being paraded by the conquering Romans was a fate that befell another Eastern queen 3 centuries after the death of Cleopatra. According to the Historia Augusta, the Palmyrene queen Zenobia was captured by Emperor Aurelian and paraded through the streets of Rome in gold chains and jewelry during his triumph parade. Who was this Zenobia, and why was she treated by the Romans in such a manner? Here we have an illustration of Queen Zenobia before Emperor Aurelianus by Giovanni Battistio Teleppo. Zenobia was born around 240 AD, and Palmyra, at that time a Roman province. As she was given the name Julia Aurelia Zenobia, it can be said that she was a Roman citizen. Roman citizenship was granted to her father's family at an earlier date, perhaps during the reign of Marcus Aurelius, in the latter point of the 2nd century AD. The Historia Augusta even makes a claim that Zenobia's father could trace his lineage to Julia Domna, the wife of the Emperor Septimius Severus. By 258 AD, she was married to Septimius Odathius, an influential member of Palmyrene society. The exact position of Odathius, however, is slightly unclear. While Odathius was honored with Roman titles, thus making him sort of a Roman governor of Palmyra, he was also retrospectively given the title King of Kings. The latter title, however, may not be an indication that Odeanius desired to carve an independent kingdom for himself, as it was conferred onto him for his defeat of the Caesarian king Shupur. Regardless, Odeanus role in Palmyra was dead by 267 AD. I'm just gonna call him OD because this name is a tongue twister. OD and Heron, his son from his first wife, were assassinated. Damn. According to some sources, their deaths were engineered by Zenobia herself so as to allow her to seize power. The view, however, has been rejected by modern scholars, as it was Emperor Gallienus who was responsible for Od's death. Nevertheless, Zenobia's son, Valbalithus, became king of Palmyra, whilst Zenobia ruled as regent. As Rome was griped by the crisis of the 3rd century, it was the perfect opportunity for Zenobia to extend Palmyrine rule. Now, this is something that's fascinating to me is like these incredible female historical figures and their subtle impacts to society. I mean, this woman had such a strong reputation that she made it into the Roman history book. So, people out there, especially the woke right and the feminists and the lefties, they all like to complain about no such thing as strong historical women and all that fun jazz when they're right there in front of you. But they want to revitalize, what's the word I'm looking for? They like to take pre-established historical figures and reinvent them to fit a more modern cultural Marxist ideology. So it's just something to keep in mind when you kind of ask yourself, why are we not privy to the history of Zenobia, even if it may have been brief? Clearly, it was significant enough that it made it into the Roman history books. So these are things that I feel that we should all, kind of ask ourselves and take into consideration as we explore more about the past. Because it's, as I do more and more of these, the more I realize, wow, there's some really incredible female historical figures who aren't getting their due diligence, who aren't getting their shout outs, even if it is for just a brief moment. I know that when we covered Queen Mavia, there's less information about her story, but it seems to kind of conflate with Queen Zenobia's. So we do have a lot of stories about these really interesting female historical figures. The problem is they don't really want to talk about these certain female figures because they don't fit the narrative that is being spun about throughout society. But enough of a Ronin rant. Let us continue. Okay. Now here we have coins depicting Zenobia. So, with these coins here, it's clear that Zenobia definitely had a significant impact in the region. In 269 to 270 AD, Zenobia sent her general, Zabadas, to claim the Roman province of Egypt as her own. With help from their Egyptian ally, Timagenes, the Palmyrians were able to defeat the Roman prefect of Egypt, Tangino Probus, and his army. To consolidate her position in Egypt, she claimed that she was a descendant of Cleopatra. Like the Ptolemies, Zenobia was a patron of scholarship, and even during her early reign, surrounded her court with intellectuals and philosophers. Following the conquest of Egypt, Zenobia then marched her army to Anatolia, conquering Roman territory as far west as Ankara. Subsequently, she conquered Syria, Palestine, and Lebanon using a blend of military might and ideological propaganda. This woman was highly intelligent, highly effective, and clearly a very influential leader and very self aware. The fact that she surrounded her court with intellectuals and philosophers who influenced her ability to lead and conquer. I mean, this woman took on the Roman Empire and conquered Syria, Palestine, and Lebanon using military might and ideological propaganda. I mean, it kind of makes you wonder how much of ideological propaganda that she has used is being implemented now. Clearly, this woman was very, very effective. And I wonder if there's any historical records of her military tactics and ideological propaganda. But this is what I'm saying is like, how many people out there leave a comment if you've ever heard of Queen Zenobia. We've all heard about Cleopatra. Us have heard about Queen Zenobia and the fact that she conquered Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, and Egypt from the Romans. I mean, that's pretty badass for a woman to do. We don't talk. And I've said this for a minute now, and I've said this in a couple past videos and live streams. Like, these are incredible female historical figures whose story needs to be told. We should, these women should be promoted in the history books. Like, this is a fascinating individual. Like, I would love to like read a decent book about her life. I know we're only getting a little light introduction into her, but so far, this woman clearly was a force to be reckoned with. Um, think about it. She took on the Romans, and she actually did work. It's something to be impressed with, I must say. I know there are some people out there who would accuse me of being a misogynist, despite the fact that I've been doing videos on incredible female historical figures for the past, 2 months. But I digress. Enough of a Ronin rant. Let's get back into it. Here we have an illustration, interpretation of Zenobia by Carlo Antonio Travella, 1668, 1738. Initially, the Palmyrene Empire was recognized by the new Roman Emperor, Aurelian, who was occupied with the campaign against the Gallic Empire in the west. This recognition is evident in Palmyrene imperial coinage struck in Antioch, which showed that Valbanius, Valbalus and Aurelian were of equal rank. At the last moment, however, Aurelian's name disappears from the coins, and only that of Valbalus and Zenobia remained. Having defeated the Gallic Empire, Aurelian turned his sights on the east. Thus, the Palmyrene decision to break away from the Roman Empire may be seen as a reaction against Aurelian. Alternatively, it may also be possible that the Palmyrene decision to break away from Rome triggered Aurelian's campaign in the east. Nevertheless, the Palmyrenes were defeated by Aurelian's army, first near Antioch and then at Emesa. Zenobia and Valbalus then fled to Palmyra, where they prepared to defend the city. It is recorded that Zenobia was expecting aid from the Sassans. When this failed to arrive, however, Zenobia and her son attempted to flee to Sassan territory on camel. They were captured by Aurelian, however, whilst trying to cross the Euphrates River. The fate of Zenobia becomes a mystery after this. One source records that Zenobia and Vabalthus drowned in the Bosporus whilst being transported back to Rome, while another records that she was paraded in Rome by Aurelian, following which she was given a villa near Rome. Yet another source reports that Zenobia was brought to Rome, but never paraded by Aurelian. Instead, she marries a wealthy Roman man. Regardless of the ending, Zenobia's life is indeed an eventful and colorful one that may rival that of Cleopatra. After all, operas and literature about Zenobia's life have been written as early as the 14th century. And there you have it. Queen Zenobia. A fascinating little character from history. And I must say, it seems like she must have been quite the woman to have been around. Yeah, I really get excited learning about these little tidbits of historical figures of antiquity. I get excited. I really like it. I think it's fun. I think it's cool, and it just further um, excites me to wonder what other types of mysteries and historical figures are out there that we just don't know about, that don't get their due diligence, that don't get their time to shine. So, I highly recommend everyone out there, as I always say near the end, do your own research, do deeper dives, because we're not going to learn about these kind of historical figures. We're not going to be taught these types of people. You have to seek out this type of information, this type of history. I seek it out because I find it really interesting, and I think it's rewarding, and I think it's important for all of us to learn about these historical figures, especially ones that are not from our race, our culture, our region, our part of history. It's important for all of us to learn a little bit about it. And I'm definitely curious to learn more about her. If there's any books out there that I could read, I just think she's fascinating. I think it's interesting. This woman took on the Roman Empire, carved out a little piece for herself, let the ego get the best of her, and kind of lost it all. Tale as old as time, but definitely one tale that's interesting to hear about. So, don't be afraid to seek out these stories. Don't be afraid to seek out these types of old history books. I'm telling you guys out there, don't deny yourself the mysteries of education. And I know that sounds cheesy and stupid, but I guess what I mean by that is, the mysteries of education in terms of those mysteries that, we were taught to not um, search, mysteries that we were taught not to involve ourselves in, mysteries that we were taught not to answer and question. And I think it's really important and beneficial for all of us to do that. And even in this little article and story that we read, nothing crazy and fantastical necessarily happened, but it's nice to know that this woman clearly had a significant impact. But nobody talks about her. We're not privy to this kind of information. We're kind of told about the same famous historical female characters over and over. It's kind of regurgitated, nothing new for us to kind of latch on to, especially when it comes to being a young woman and you're interested in history. They don't explore these female underdogs of history who have carved out a name for themselves, have carved out a piece of history for themselves, and it's something to be proud of and to explore, honestly. So really, get out there, do your exploration, continue to grow and learn and evolve, and educate yourselves on the mysteries of the world. As I always say, the hidden history and the true history are only revealed to those who seek it out. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Ronin. All things, everything. If you've made it this far and you've enjoyed what you heard, please leave a comment with your thoughts below and sprinkle in a dash of constructive criticism, as that will help me and the channel grow. And if you're new, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much, much love.